Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Collider Mailbag, the all mailbag show here on Collider Video, where all we do is take your mailbag questions. My name is John Campy. I'm the producer over here at Collider Video, and this is a much more relaxed, laid-back, casual kind of show than what we do on Movie Talk, where, like I said, all we do is take your mailbag questions. And how do you get your mailbag question on our show? It's simple. You simply email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Send on in your questions, and then maybe sometime Monday through Friday, you'll see it pop up on Movie Talk, or maybe you'll see it here on one of our weekend mailbag shows. I want to thank my host who's joining me today, Wendy Lee. Wendy, thanks for doing the shows with me this weekend.
Thanks for having me back. Had a lot of fun last time.
It was a lot of fun you were doing with us last time. So let's get started. What's first up?
All right, first up is Keith Rogers, who writes, with the new Independence Day Resurgence trailer causing a massive stir over the weekend, people have either been openly excited about the sequel or simply dismissing it as a rehash and more of the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, but won't IDR be the first film to ever portray a post-invasion world? I don't know of any invasion genre films that address how society would rebuild, how alien technology could be reverse engineered by humanity, as well as show the geopolitical ramification of such an event. Either way, I'm excited for us to go whoop E.T.'s ass once again.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that first Independence Day Resurgence trailer, which is by far a better trailer. I'm not a big fan of Independence Day Resurgence as a title, but it is far better than ID4 Forever or whatever the hell it was going to be. That was awful. That was just a terrible trailer. This is a big step up. Now, that being said, the first trailer just came out, and I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it an awful lot. I thought it was better than I was expecting as far as the trailer goes. And you're absolutely right. I'm hearing some people say things like, oh, it's just aliens come and the humans gotta save the world. Okay, yes, that's true. But I think you're doing the film a great disservice by just boiling it down just to those 2 points. I mean, how many movies can you describe? A murder is committed and the hero has to solve it. You just described 50,000 movies if you really want to boil it down all the way down to just that. But if you look broader, like you were saying, there are so many new elements in this movie. Like, you're right, I have been dying to see a next Independence Day that looks at the world in the wake of an alien invasion. Like this, if it was the same thing where an alien spaceship appears over the sky and once again humanity's like, oh my gosh, there are aliens, I wonder if they're friendly or, obviously that would be dumb. But this is now a post-invasion world where we hear Jeff Goldblum say, I've been prepping the world for 20 years for them to return. We have been using alien technology to bump up our defenses. And like you said, the geopolitical aspect of it is what happens to the politics of the world, the petty arguments and separations that we have as a species after we've been invaded by an alien race bent on our destruction and know full well they could come back again. Then what does the geopolitical landscape look like? So I think they're doing a lot of things right. I think they're doing a lot of things new. I think they're doing some things that are also really interesting in this. And I also think at the same time, this is still going to be on a visceral level, just a fun, nonsensical action film where someone's going to get in a fighter jet and blow away the bad guys. I mean, this seems like a really fun movie. Now, this movie could end up totally sucking. Absolutely, it could. But for me personally, I don't see at this point really what there is to complain about the trailer and what we've seen so far.
I actually really liked the trailer. It surprised me because for some reason, because I guess they changed the title so many times and it was cheesy at the beginning, I was not expecting a good trailer and I actually liked it. I'm looking forward to this film. Do you think now that they're focusing on the post-invasion world, is this going to set a trend for like future alien films that they're going to focus on this has happened 30 years ago, now it's happening again? Or the humans, it's our time to invade an alien planet. We're the invaders.
Now that would be an interesting thing. I think you put that. If Roland Emmerich is listening to this, he's probably now thinking that for Independence Day 3, now we say it's time for us to take the fight to them.
You're welcome, Hollywood.
And we launch into space and go after them. No, but there is a trend right now of revisiting franchises. Hey, sequels are nothing new, but revisiting franchises now 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. It is becoming a trend. I mean, on the surface, you think Independence Day 2? Wasn't that like forever ago? Isn't it a little bit too little too late? But it is kind of a new trend. I'm going to be kind of curious to see what the next movie that was a hit 25 years ago and now they're doing a sequel to it. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right. Ashleigh Gibson writes, "Hey everyone, big fan of the show. I was wondering if you have heard any news on the Vinny Pazienza biopic, Believe for This, starring Miles Teller. I thought it was supposed to come out this year, but haven't seen any marketing for this film. Do you have any idea what's going on with it? Thanks, and as always, keep up the great work."
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Ashley's talking about.
My name is Wendy.
If we're, any of you know, Ashleigh. Ashley, the person who asked the question.
I'm sorry. I was thinking Mova. My bad.
I know you're Wendy. I'm not talking about Mova. For those of you who are wondering what the question asker, Ashleigh, is asking us about, there is a biopic that was actually filmed, I think, in like 2014, starring Miles Teller as Vinny Pazienza, Katie Seagal. I might be mispronouncing Pazienza's name, by the way. Katie Seagal from Married with Children, and of course, my favorite of hers, Sons of Anarchy, and Aaron Eckhart, who of course was Two-Face in The Dark Knight, with Miles Teller in the lead, playing a boxer. And you think Miles Teller, you think of him as the nerdy little scrawny geek, but he actually bulked up and played this real life story about this world champion boxer, got into an accident, broke his neck, was probably never even going to walk again, and then like a year later came back and won the title. I mean, it's a crazy Rocky-like comeback story, but it's a real life. And they shot this film, and then it was picked. There was actually a bidding war for the movie back in like February or March, I think. There's like a bidding war from the Open Road Films, won the film. They got it. And the original plan was to release it in 2015. However, you're right. There was no marketing. There was no anything for it because they changed their plans. The best of my knowledge right now is that Open Road plans to release the film sometime in 2016. So they are looking at releasing it within the next calendar year. As far as I know at this point, they have not locked down a date, but I have heard that this is an awards kind of movie.
Wow.
I've heard it's that good, that when Open Road won the rights to it, there was actually like 6 distributors vying for it and trying to get their hands on this film, and that it is considered an awards season kind of film. So I have a feeling, if that's right, and if the movie is as good as some of the buzz is saying about it, we may not see it till like November or December of 2016, or maybe they could release it in March for all we know. But as of right now, to the best of my knowledge, and they could have a date out and I'm just not aware of it, but to the best of my knowledge, they haven't released an actual release date yet, but it will be sometime in 2016.
I also heard that another reason why they pushed it back is because they didn't want to compete with Creed. Do you think that's a big possibility? Because it seems like with the awards that they're getting, the accolades they're getting, it would have probably been a good match for Creed. So why not put it out at the same time and catch up with the boxing trend? If
that's true, and if they were concerned about Creed, it's justifiably to be concerned, because which would be the bigger name? Rocky and Creed? Or this new film about a boxer that nobody really outside of boxing would recognize the name, then it would probably, and remember, it's not just Creed. This year you had 2 marquee boxing movies come out. You had Creed and you had Southpaw. Now, I didn't like Southpaw very much, but other people on our crew, like Christian, really did like it. I didn't think it was all that good. I thought, Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was wonderful in the movie. But I have a feeling that there probably is some truth to that rumor, because if I'm Open Road Films and I say, look, in 2015, we've got 2 marquee, recognizable, star-led boxing movies already, with Creed coming out so late in the year, maybe 2016 is a better release date for us. And so while I don't know that that's true, if it is, it certainly makes sense to me.
Got it.
All right, what's next?
All right. Ruben Inga writes, "Hello, Collider Movie Talk. Do you guys think if Anakin never lost his limbs and never had to use the suit to help him live, that he would be a more powerful Sith?"
And, this is funny that you asked this, because I have had this exact discussion with buddies of mine years and years and years ago. It's like, do you think what happened to him becoming Vader, did that make him more powerful, or did that actually limit his potential? I have a feeling it did not hurt his power. The Force, I mean, look at the size, look how big Yoda is. I mean, Yoda is the size of Vader's thigh, and Yoda was an incredibly powerful Force user. So I don't really think, but then what my friends would say to me, thanks to the prequels with the whole midichlorian mess. Yeah, but John, my buddies would say to me, they'd say, if he had his arms and legs, he could have had more midichlorians in his system. There's more room for more midichlorians. It's like, really? That's what the Force is measured by? Real estate? How much housing market the midichlorians have in your physical body? That's how it's measured. But there is an argument to be made there because the midichlorians are a thing. So could you say that, Vader, because he didn't have his real legs and his real arms, that he had less midichlorians than he did before? How stupid. I am so glad. Spoiler. I am so glad Star Wars The Force Awakens never says the word midichlorians. I'm so happy about that. Moving on from that, though. No, I actually think it didn't affect it one way or the other. I think he was strong in the Force. I think having his robotic body aided him in some ways and hindered him in some ways. I think having his pure physical body would have been a benefit in some ways, or maybe would have been a drawback in some ways at the same time. Ultimately, I think it all washes out, and I personally don't think it made any difference.
I personally feel like if he hadn't lost his limbs, he wouldn't be as powerful because there wouldn't be so much more anger and hate channeling through him.
Yeah, you know what? If you read the novel that is now canon, Lords of the Sith, that came out a few months ago, in one of the chapters, it talks about how he is constantly in pain. Mm-hmm. That Vader is actually physically constantly in some degree of pain, which, if you saw Revenge of the Sith, you understand why he's always in a sense of pain. But in the book, the author describes that as he's always in pain, and that pain fuels his rage. He's always angry. It's like Dr. Banner in Avengers. That's my secret. I'm always angry. Mm-hmm. Vader is always angry. He's always in a state of rage. It's controlled rage because he's Vader and he's cool like that, but he's always enraged, and the physical pain fuels that rage. So there's a very good argument to be made for what you're suggesting there about the pain being kind of a part to that. Plus, he just wouldn't have looked as cool.
No.
I mean, none of us would have felt as intimidated by the appearance of Hayden Christensen as we are by Darth Vader. He just looked far cooler. All right, what's next?
Anthony Noble writes, if Star Wars, Batman v Superman, X-Men Apocalypse, Captain America 3, and Deadpool all came out in the same weekend, what do you think the rankings would be, and how much money made opening weekend per film?
First of all, let's just pause for a moment and think about a world where all those movies are opening up on the same weekend. That's one hell of a weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, that aside, which one comes out first? I am still holding by my guns that because, when you say if Star Wars, that could mean, do you mean Rogue One, which has not yet come out? Because all these movies you're listing have not come out. Yeah, these are all 2016 films. So if you mean Star Wars Rogue One, that's the assumption I'm going to go on. Since all the other films listed are ones that have not come out yet. So I'm going to assume you mean the Star Wars that has not come out yet. Then I would say, my guess that the order would be this. In first place that weekend would be Batman v Superman. This is just a movie we have been waiting decades to see, and we will have just got another Star Wars movie. That doesn't mean Rogue One isn't going to be awesome, fantastic, super spectacular. We're all looking forward to it a lot, but Batman v Superman is one that some of us have been waiting for decades to see. There's never been Batman and Superman on the screen together in a movie. It's never happened. I mean, it's insane when you think about that. As long as you're not talking about Legos or anything like that, then, I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about that. So I think by a bit, Batman v Superman comes in number one. Number two would be Rogue One, the Star Wars story. So I think Rogue One would be number two. Number three would be Captain America Civil War. Number four would be X-Men Apocalypse. And number five, because of the R rating and not quite as popular amongst the casual movie fans, Deadpool. Now remember, we're talking box office. I'm not giving a prediction about which one will be the best movie. I'm just saying if next weekend these movies, Star Wars Rogue One, Batman v Superman, X-Men Apocalypse, Captain America Civil War, and Deadpool all came out in a weekend, say 1 month from now on the same weekend, I believe the box office would be Batman v Superman number one, Star Wars Rogue One number two, Captain America Civil War number three, X-Men Apocalypse number four, and Deadpool, which might end up being the best of the bunch, but Deadpool would come in last at the box office for that.
I mean, as a movie fan, as a comic book movie fan, this would be like the dream weekend for anybody.
God. Yes.
Do you think there's possibilities in the future? Because I know Star Wars have their lineup. We're supposed to get one a year. Marvel's got their slate. DC's got their slate. Could we ever see an opening like this? Or similar to it?
Well,
maybe not all 5 films.
Here's the thing. Marvel is now in a place where they are not yet, but I think in 2017, they're going to be putting out, it's 2017, right, Dennis? Where they're going to be putting like 3 films a year. So 27 toward 2018. We know DC is ramping up to 2 films a year. Star Wars right now is 1 a year. My Jedi Council co-host, Christian Harloff, I don't agree with him, but he thinks that pretty soon Lucasfilm is going to amp up their production and start doing 2 Star Wars films a year. Oof. I don't think they will, but he does. Then you got to see what Marvel's going to be doing with Spider-Man. Then Fox may get to a point where they're putting out 2 of their X-Men universe films a year. Like we got Gambit, X-Men Apocalypse, and Gambit is still 2016, right? They just moved it to the end of 2016. Yeah. So you're going to have Gambit, X-Men Apocalypse, and Deadpool all come out in 1 year. So that still leaves a lot of empty weeks. And you're never going to have, none of these studios want to open on the same day. Because do you remember last year, there was a period of time there when Batman v Superman and Captain America Winter Soldier were supposed to open on the same day?
Yeah, I do.
And that stretched on for months. They were both scheduled to open on the same day. It was a giant high-risk game of chicken between Marvel and DC. Ultimately, DC moved off the date, and not because they were chicken, but because they were smart. It was smart of them to move, and double smart of them to move. Okay, we'll move off the date, but we're going to open before you. We're going to open earlier. Now, they're going to get out of the gate first. I thought that was a very good move on DC's part. Mm-hmm. Some people look at that and go, DC blinked. DC blinked, but they might have made the smarter move. So and with the summer season becoming more and more packed, and we got more and more blockbusters that aren't comic book or Star Wars movies. You know, we got ID Forever. Sorry, it's not called ID Forever anymore. We got Independence Day 2 coming out. We have a weekend like this. No, but a weekend where you're going to get 2, maybe once in a while 3 movies where it's like a Sophie's Choice, where you're trying to decide what movie you're going to go see if you can only see one that weekend. I can see that day coming in the next couple of years. I really do.
That wouldn't be a bad weekend to have.
Not a bad weekend at all, though, if you're a film fan. All right, what's next?
Corey writes, "Hello, Collider crew. So I've had the displeasure of having Star Wars The Force Awakens spoiled for me. Oh, no. So I was wondering what the best tips are for avoiding spoilers, and if there are any ways to forget them."
Narcotics.
And
we at Collider Video and Collider.com in no way, shape, or form condone the use of illegal narcotics for any sort of memory wipe. That being said, it's an unfortunate reality of the digital age that we are now so connected all the time. You know, you go into a plane, into an airport, or you go into a restaurant, or you go into a line at the movies, people are constantly this. We are always got our bloody faces in our phones, looking at our Twitter stream, looking at Snapchat, looking at our Instagram, looking at our Facebook feed, checking all that kind of stuff. And as long as, now that we're like that, you can't. You just can't avoid them unless you make the decisive decision to stay off that mobile device and to stay away from it. And even then, you can only do it for a certain period of time. As long as there are idiots in the world who want to spoil something for somebody, you run the risk of getting things spoiled. Be selective about who you follow in your Twitter streams. Be selective who you allow to put up stuff in your news feed on Facebook. But that's a long-term plan. You can't just decide one weekend, I don't want to hear any Star Wars spoilers, so just for this weekend, I'll be selective about who I follow. No. It has to be a long-term plan, a long-term strategy of, I'm wiping out my followers on Facebook. I'm only going to follow a select few who I trust all the time. I'm only going to follow a select few on Twitter who I trust all the time. You got to stay out of comment sections on things because people are going to drop things. You know, even here at Collider, we tried our best to monitor the chat boards and stuff like that. But every single video we put up gets hundreds and sometimes thousands of comments. And it is just impossible to stay up to date on them too much. And fortunately, fans self-police and they'll downvote one enough to the point that it disappears. But it's a difficult thing. It is a difficult thing. Now, I'm the type of guy where I don't want to hear significant spoilers, but when I do, I gotta admit, it doesn't really affect my viewing of a movie pretty much at all. Like, I knew the Titanic sank at the end of Titanic. I mean, if that wasn't a real life event, that would be a big, big hovering question mark. Like, will the boat sink? We don't know. Got to watch the movie to find out. Guess what? I knew the boat sank. Didn't affect my enjoyment of the movie. I knew Abraham Lincoln gets shot in the head at the end. Didn't affect my enjoyment of the movie. I knew who won the Civil War. Doesn't affect my enjoyment of those movies. So, I mean, that's just me personally. But there are a lot of people who feel differently, and you got to respect that. And so the answer is, it's kind of hopeless. You just got to cross your fingers and hope that you're following the right people, and you got to trust in the good nature of people.
Yeah, I think it's really sad. I mean, even someone on Instagram took the time to go to the theater and videotape on their phone the final scene in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, which is criminal.
Like why would you do that?
It's not hyperbole. It's actually criminal. Those people should go to jail. I have no sympathy for them. I have no idea. If they got sent to jail and their lives ruined and all that kind of stuff, maybe lives ruined might be excessive, but send them to jail for a year or for 6 months, sue them, fine them, whatever. That's flat out criminal, but it is really unfortunate. There are people out there who specifically want to ruin other people's enjoyment. And that's unfortunate, but it's part of the world we live in.
Yeah, it's sad.
All right, what's next?
Chris Johnson writes, "Hey guys, I'm a huge sweaty for all of your web shows. I have been reading a lot of internet material about a 5th installment of the Underworld series. I was wondering if you guys have heard anything. Do you think they would bring back Scott Speedman? Yes.
Yeah, Underworld 5, why bother? I mean, that's really what it should be. This is a franchise that's a mess. It's a total mess. And the first Underworld film, you've probably heard me talk about this before. The first Underworld film was not a bad movie, but I didn't love it. But the thing was, it was one of those movies, while not great, right? I feel that very similar to the first Underworld movie that I do about Jessica Jones.
Okay.
Because I didn't really like the Jessica Jones series. I didn't really love the first Underworld film, but that first Underworld film set up such a great mythology and such cool characters. We had Celine as a death dealer. First of all, what a great name for the hunters, the death dealers. I love that. And the relationship with the werewolves and the elder vampires who take turns sleeping through time and hopscotching each other through time. Such a great concept that even though I didn't love the first Underworld, I thought it was okay. I was so excited about them doing another one. And I felt very much the same way about Jessica Jones. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of Jessica Jones. But oddly enough, even though I don't like Jessica Jones, it's one of the shows, very rare shows, that I go, I didn't like the first season, or I didn't like the first one, whatever. But man, I can't wait to see what they do with the second one, because it set up such great characters. They set up a great kind of world. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do next time, and just kind of hope they can execute better. So, but then Underworld did a second one and it was bad. And then they did a third one, which wasn't horrible, but they did a lot of things really awful. Then they did another one after that was just pure garbage. And at this point, it's like, why? Why are you doing this? And as far as I know, Speedman is not coming back for this one. Theo James is in it. Kate Beckinsale is returning. And a director by the name of Anna Forrester or something like that. I think it's Forrester. You may not recognize her name because she's mostly done television up to this point, but she is right now, I believe she is pegged to direct Source Code 2, which would be another movie coming out probably in 2017, 2018. But she's the one who's directing this one instead of Kate Beckinsale's husband this time around. So I don't have much hope for this movie. I will watch it out of morbid curiosity. But to me, this is a franchise that's just gone downhill ever since with all the great potential of the first one.
I'm the same as you. I actually personally really liked the first Underworld, and then my interest in it just started to kind of wane off after the second and the third, and then the fourth I didn't even bother going to see. It just completely lost interest. So do you think maybe it's after the fifth one, depending if it's successful or not, maybe go back and rehash it and tell a different part of the story?
To me, the best part of Underworld 1 and why I had a lot of hope for Underworld 3 is Victor. To me, Victor is the best vampire character ever, especially in that first one. To see a prequel that, take the Death Dealers out, whatever, a prequel of focus on Victor, I think that would be cool. But then they did 3 and they totally turned Victor into a little bitch.
Yeah, they did.
They turned him into a weak little bitch. It's like, are you effing kidding me? You have Goldie. You created this amazing character. And then you did this with him in 3? What? I was so terribly disappointed. So if they could find a way to do Victor again and not treat him the way they treated him in Underworld 3, yeah, I'd give a shot.
Maybe just like how he came to be where he is.
Yeah, that would be interesting too. Or how the elder vampire thing all got set up. That might be interesting too. We'll see if they have the foresight to do that. All right, what's next?
Mark writes, this is about Planet of the Apes. Remember in the first one, there was a scene showing astronauts leaving Earth. Do you think they will include that in the next movie and maybe set up a new trilogy?
I don't think so. No, they won't. Because if you look at the original, like, remember, they even showed a picture of Charlton Heston in one of them, I believe, as one of the astronauts going up. So this Planet of the Apes, while not really solid and concrete, is basically a prequel to the classic Planet of the Apes. It's basically a prequel because by showing the astronauts going up and showing a picture of Charlton Heston, they're kind of saying, wink, wink a little bit, they could take some liberties. And if they are, remember, the time period in the original Planet of the Apes between when Charlton Heston, the astronaut, takes off into space and when he crashes back down to Earth, I believe is like 1,000 years. Not like a day. It might have been 500 years or 10,000 years. I don't know which, but it's a long ass time between when Heston takes off and when he comes back to Earth. And remember, the world at that point has been completely taken over. Humanity has evolved to the point that most of them can't even speak. Now they're just the animals. So it's been a long time of evolution since the apes took over, conquered, and now kind of have dominion over the Earth. So we're in the very early days of that. So because of all that, I don't think the Charlton Heston astronaut going to space will play a part in this.
How many more Planet of the Apes films do you feel like they're going to do? Are they going to follow all the way up until they catch up with the original?
Are they going to do these movies for another 1,000 years? Look, it all comes down to following the money trail. If the next one is as big of a hit and makes as much money or more money as the previous one, then they're going right back into the executive offices and planning out the next one. And they'll keep doing that as long as they think that the audience wants it and will keep coming back to watch them. That means they've got to keep them fresh. They got to keep them cutting edge technology wise. They got to keep them interesting and keep them good. But as long as they keep doing that, the audiences will keep coming. And if they do keep coming, these movies, at some point, the audiences might get tired of the Apes movies. And when that happens, the studio will back off. But as long as there's a dollar to be made, they will keep making these movies.
I have to say, when I heard of the original and I saw snippets of it, I wasn't even interested at all.
Oh, it's so good.
And then I saw, the prequels and I went, okay, I'm going to have to give this movie a chance. Now I love it.
Yeah, it's so great.
It's great.
All right, last question of the day.
Last question comes from John Henderson, who writes, hey guys, I recently rewatched Men in Black 2. It's funny, though it lacks a lot of the elements as the first one. Can you name any more disappointing sequels besides MIB 2 and Iron Man 2?
Well, there's a list. You could list hundreds of them. You could list hundreds, but 2 of them really stand out to me. One is one of the all-time, the one that really stands out to me is because the first one, to me, is still and always has been in my top 10 favorite films of all time. And not a lot of other people will have this one on their list, but I do. It has a very special place in my heart. The original, Christopher Lambert, Clancy Brown, The Highlander. I freaking love The Highlander. Sean Connery as Ramirez. I mean, that movie to me is pure genius, pure gold. And I don't think that movie gets the credit it deserves. That being said, you can imagine my excitement when Highlander 2 was coming out. And I was a big fan of Michael Ironside at the time. And Michael Ironside was going to be the big villain this one. I was like, oh, and Sean Connery was coming back. I had no idea how on earth they were going to bring Sean Connery back, but they were bringing Sean Connery back. It is in my top 3 of the worst, not just sequels, One of the 3 worst motion pictures of all time. Major Hollywood releases of all time. The 3 in no particular order. Highlander 2, Catwoman, and Battlefield Earth. To me are the 3 worst major studio motion pictures in history. And the fact that Highlander 2 is a sequel to one of my most beloved films of all time just adds a few, it's another inch up the butt. I mean, it really is violating. It's a very violating feeling as a fan. But then there's others, like one that really stands out to me too in the realm of comedy. There was that everybody thinks of Robert De Niro in his first real attempt at comedy as in Meet the Fockers, right? Fockers what was the name of the first one? Meet the Parents was the name of the first one. But before that, he had done a movie with Billy Crystal called Analyze This, which was hilarious. Robert De Niro's a mob guy, and he's got to go to a therapist because he's having panic attacks. I very much believe that Sopranos got a little bit of their inspiration from it a bit. That's just me personally. But Billy Crystal plays his therapist. It's incredibly funny. It's a great comedy. So when they were coming out with Analyze That, the sequel, high anticipation, big letdown. That happens a lot with movies, and especially comedies. And I'm like Hangover to Hangover 2 or things like that. So those are some of the ones that jump. I'm sure there's a list. If we sat down here for an hour, we can come up with a list of hundreds, but those are the ones that stand out to me the most.
Now let's flip that question around. What are some of the sequels that you think are better than the first film? A lot of people will point to The Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think The Two Towers was better than the original Lord of the Rings, and that Return of the King was even better than those ones. Another one, this might be the granddaddy of them all, Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, because the first Star Trek movie was kind of shit. I mean, it was kind of poopy. The first Star Trek movie you didn't like it?
No, the first Star Trek movie is not good. And then along comes Wrath of Khan, which is one of the all-time great science fiction movies. It's amazing. Ricardo Montalban is Khan, with the William Shatner, Khan, not the Spock Khan in the new one. And I do like the new one, but that's a great one as well. Godfather 2. A lot of people think Godfather 2 is even better than Godfather 1. And those are two, like, considered by many of the greatest films of all time. You'll find a lot of movies where the sequel is as good, or Toy Story 2 to Toy Story 1 is another one. The Dark Knight, I believe, some people will argue, but I believe The Dark Knight was even better than Batman Begins. I agree. So you can just keep running it down, and you can find, I thought Superman 2, the Christopher Reeve Superman 2 was better than Superman 1. So like the disappointing ones, we could probably sit here for an hour and come up with a big list of sequels that were as good or better than their originals, or the third films that were as good or better as their predecessors. But those are just some of the ones that stand out to me. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Mailbag. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, listen, don't forget, click the thumbs up button if you like this video. It's a good way of you letting us know that you like what we're doing here. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this video on your Twitter, on your Facebook. Become an evangelist for all the stuff that we're doing here on Collider Video. And I want to thank the lovely Wendy Lee for being my co-host today. Wendy, where can people find you online?
Thanks for having me back. And you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And I want to thank Jonathan and Dennis for behind the camera stuff, making this whole thing run. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter simply at John Campea. Once again, if you want your question brought up on one of our shows, take a shot by emailing us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. So that'll do it for us, guys. Thanks all for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow. So until then, bye-bye.